Okay, so we are live now. Hello, George. How are you?
Everything is amazing. Thank you. What about yourself?
I'm great. I'm great. So, I would like to welcome you at our first episode of Pro AI Think Tank. And our topic for the today's session is disrupting security with artificial intelligence and technologies. Okay. So, first of all, I would like you to say about yourself so our audience will get to know about you more.
Okay, no, I can do a very brief introduction. My name is Jorge Sebastiao. I'm Portuguese Canadian, but I've been traveling, I guess, to Pakistan probably for the last 30 years or so. And since working in technology, we have seen the evolution of the various technologies over these like 36 plus years, which included mainframes, mid range computers, LANs, networks, the birth of the desktop. And from there, I mean, databases, fourth generation languages. AI has been around for a long time, cloud computing, IoT, 5G, blockchain, just to name a few. So, having worked in all these technologies, of course, what is important is how we combine these technologies together to create useful business solutions. Not always so easy because software and hardware needs a bit of maturity to be set up and to be configured for the business application. And at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, the most important thing is actually the user interface, how the user interacts with the solution. And as solutions tend to be easier to use, they tend to be more friendly, then adoption of these solutions grows easier and faster. So we can then talk about some examples of that
Mm-hmm.
in these newer technologies of cybersecurity and artificial intelligence.
All right, cool. So I have some questions for you, George, and I'll go one by one. Okay. So my first question is that, like, what has made AI so popular now?
Well, this is actually a very good question because AI has been with us for probably a little bit 40 years, give or take. Um, on one of my first work terms in technology, it was almost 36 plus years ago. I was predicting lake levels using data. You can say it's a very basic form of prediction. You can call it AI, but not really too much artificial, but still based on data to drive how to predict the future before it actually happens. So, of course, over the last 36 years, many things have evolved dramatically. The power of the CPUs has become much faster and powerful. Machines today have much larger amounts of memory that they can proceed. Storage has become much cheaper and faster. So today we no longer
Mm-hmm.
have moving parts in our storage. So our storage in our computers is solid state. So that makes the access to that storage very fast and even low cost and more reliable. Networking and telecommunications obviously has evolved a lot so that we can have
Right.
larger bandwidths. So when we have all these elements coming together, it made new versions of AI to be more powerful and more strong or being done in a much short period of time. Of course, there is some specialized hardware that was created and did a good job at processing AI. And one example of that is something called GPUs or graphical processing units. These
Mm-hmm.
are, um, you can say, specialized CPUs that were designed to do 3D modeling and numerical manipulation. So those were also very good at processing data for AI. So that's one side. You can say one side is associated with the technology, and that technology has become
Right.
faster, cheaper, But I think that is not really the thing that has created the big revolution that we see today. And the big revolution that we see today is there because of the user experience. Now, if we take the
Mm-hmm.
product that has created that revolution is known as Chat GPT, that comes from OpenAI. It's something called a large language model. And what it does is it learns about data, and then it gives us
Mm-hmm.
back that data in a structured way by having a conversation in English or another language between the user
Yeah.
and the software. So that really means that that particular use case of AI went from 0 to 100 million users in 2 months without any promotion or advertising. So that really means it was what we sometimes call in IT or business word of mouth marketing. So somebody said, "Oh, this is a good product. You should try it." They told it to their friends and so on. So that really means that we have a whole series of users that were not necessarily heavy computer users, found
Mm-hmm.
themselves enchanted with the power of this technology, and they started using it in a heavy way. And then, of course, there was ChatGPT 1.0, 2.0, 3, 4, and 5 very soon. But
4 and 5,
it started,
and so on. I don't know how many
yeah,
more they are going to
it
launch.
became more powerful, meaning the first version only handled text. Then the second release allowed you to handle more data. The third release allowed you to handle text, data, and images. Some of them even allow now processing of video contents. So that means now you have a different way of interfacing with that AI machine learning model. Now, the more useful it becomes, then the more users adoption that you have. So you have thousands of developers creating new solutions. So this has created a very big demand both for the hardware that enables these systems to operate. So they become very expensive in terms of not highly available, meaning there's not enough for what people want to do. So people are trying to
Mm-hmm.
get a hold on this. You need to build the data centers to be able to operate. Finally, then you have to have the systems that are learned. So today you can say ChatGPT was educated with the contents of the internet. So that contents of the internet was either 2019 up to 2022, 23. But you can
Mm-hmm.
also create a chat GPT using the contents of the enterprise, meaning if you're an education company or
Yeah.
organization, you'll use that. If you're an oil and gas company, you'd use that. If you're a cybersecurity company, you'll use that. So that means you have a multitude of applications that are possible today that were not possible tomorrow. And these kind of applications, I usually call it, they become like a co-pilot. So normally a person that
Mm-hmm.
has been doing a job will be able to perform 2 or 3 times better in their job because the AI becomes like a co-pilot for the job they do because they have access to a
Yeah.
bit automated robot to make them a bit more efficient. But it's still the user who does most of the work. It's just that the robot or the AI component enables that user to function much more faster than he was able to do it before.
Yeah, but there are some people who are talking about the risk of AIs. Maybe the jobs will not be, maybe the people will be more jobless and all. But on the other hand, we can see this thing in another way. Like, definitely, as you said earlier, that it is also helping the human to work more efficiently.
That is correct. The point that you're trying to bring is every new technology that exists, whether it's AI, blockchain, databases, fourth generation languages, cloud computing, has a good side and a bad side. What I mean by good side,
Yeah.
the good side, it allows maybe better productivity, new ways of doing things, but there is also risks associated with it. And AI is no different than any other technology. So on one side, AI enables us to work better and faster. to be more performant on the jobs that we do. But on the other sense, yeah, that is correct. So if I perform better, maybe the company only needs to hire 2 people instead of 5. So that means those people need to be retrained on some other job. As simple as that.
Yeah.
And the same applies to things like driverless cars. So if you have a car that is being driven by a robot, that means there is less people required to drive cars or trucks. Now, does it mean you still need a person in the car? For the foreseeable future, the answer is yes. And there's a reason why, is because AI or robots are not perfect. I mean, they make mistakes. And because
Mm-hmm.
of mistakes, then the human element has to be there to correct or know when those mistakes are being made. Now, there's other risks associated with AI.
Mm-hmm.
The one is of privacy. So that means what data was used to train, and what is private data or not, and how you hide the privacy of that data to make sure that you don't disclose data that is not supposed to be disclosed in the process. For example, things like ChatGPT have been sued in some cases for producing data that was considered copyrighted for an individual or an organization. So although that data was obtained from the internet, that does not mean that data was available for everybody to use. Then there is other issues
Exactly.
that are quite unique as well to AI. One is what we call sometimes singularity, or AGI, or
Mm-hmm.
advanced general intelligence, is when computers become more powerful than humans. And there's, of course, many people that are afraid that, okay, maybe computers will start making decisions that are not good for humans. But again, this is
Mm-hmm.
how computers get programmed. So that means you need to put the checks and balances in place that controls that risk, that avoids the risks associated with the technology. So, of course, there's different points of view. The people that are creating this technology think that every technology is good without checks and balances. The people that are a bit more conservative saying, yes, let's deploy the technology, but let's slow down the deployment to see what are the side effects, and maybe being able to regulate or control the nefarious or the bad side effects on the usage of that technology. And I'm a proponent that every technology has got risks. So you need to understand these risks and you need to manage them, because no technology is perfect. So if we let technology operate by itself, we would probably live in an extremely dangerous world, not a very safe one.
Yeah, because people are very much concerned about their data, and now the world is totally depends on data. Every
That is correct.
application is, uh, yeah. So the point is that every application is asking for your data, and every application, every company has your data. So, and the world is moving towards that. So, if
That
how
is
you can
what
explain
that is
that
what
about like how someone can overcome from such things?
that has been done already in certain parts of the world. So let's take, for example, Europe. Europe, and for example, even UAE has passed laws against data protection. So, for example, in Europe, there's something called GDPR, General Data Protection Rules. So these are controls that have been established by the Parliament of all Europe to say that we must protect the privacy of individuals. The individuals have the right to be forgotten when their information gets indexed without their consent. Um, any user can ask any company to say, please give all the data that you have about me, and the companies have to respond within 30 days. In every case, if the companies do not action, they could get penalties that could be like something like 4% of their annual turnover. So that means it's serious financial penalties. So that means there's a check in balance. So that really means passing the right rules to protect the privacy. This is on the government legislation side. On the other side, we do have technology that has been with us for like 14 years or so, and more in some cases, that enables us
Mm-hmm.
to protect the data. One is encryption, another one is blockchain, another one is private keys. So all this private key, public key technology enables us to control who has access to our data based on some password or some access control. And then you can turn on or turn off access to that data. The big problem, I think, and the big challenge remains and will continue to remain is the education. So many users that accept the terms or the conditions that are given by big giants like Amazon, Google, Facebook, WhatsApp, they don't understand when they click yes. What does yes mean in the terms and conditions? So I think we need to build lots of awareness sessions so that people or the general population understands what are the risks associated with providing their data to another organization without the proper checks and balances. And there's a term that I think we have always used in the past is once something is free, it's never free. So for example, if you get Gmail free, why is
Indeed.
it? So how does Google pay for that Gmail? It pays because it uses the contents of scanning some of that email to then market you some products and some services, and those are through advertising. So in the reality, you the individual becomes the target product. So it's your information that is being sold to advertisers, and the advertisers advertise to you based on your profile. So of course, the more they know about you, the more chance you have to buy the products that are being marketed to you. So, Google wins, the people that are marketing wins, and you as an end user end up being loser because to some extent, by sharing your data with those individuals, you expose yourself to being marketed things that you don't always understand. And you can experiment this very easily. Let's assume you go to Google and you search
Mm-hmm.
for something like pens or hotel rooms or flights to a certain destination. All of a sudden, you realize that every time you go to these popular applications, you'll see ads that match what you are requesting on Google. So that means somebody took that search and now is using that search to have people promote things to you that match the contents of that search. So that means you're being targeted as a user that would most likely buy those products or services. Back to you, Amara. I'm not sure if.
Oh, sorry. As you just said, that people need awareness sessions. So, if we talk about the awareness session, if we tell the people that they should be very careful before clicking the button yes while they are they're downloading the WhatsApp or a Facebook or any other application. So, don't you think that these companies will take this step as we are propagating anything like which is not which is against them actually, because definitely in our at our positive side we are just awareing the people like these are the applications, and when you are going to click on these steps, then your data they will you are basically allowing them to use your data.
That is correct. So,
So
so it
yeah.
really means that you, as a user, need to be aware of this and then make educated decisions. Maybe you're happy with receiving those ads, but if you're not happy, you
Mhm.
should have the way to remove those ads from your profile. Do you understand? And of course, there's many things you can do. One example, if you go to Google Maps and it gets the history of every place you have been in the last 1 year, 2 years, you can go and erase that history. That means neither you nor Google will longer have access to that history. So that means the marketing companies will
Yeah.
also not get access to that. So that really means there's ways that you can somehow protect yourself, but you can only do it if you're being educated on how to do it. Now, the big challenge, of course, is in the last 2 or 3 years, we probably have generated more data than ever before in the invention of computers. And there is a
Mm-hmm.
reason for that, is that the data that we were generating before was mostly numbers and digits. The data that we're generating today is audio and video. So that data is more complex, takes more space, and we can extract much more information from that data. That's why, for example, applications like TikTok or others um,
Mm-hmm.
have a very high, big, what we can call addiction factor. So that means they keep the users captive in those platforms, and therefore they have an AI algorithm that targets the users based on the likelihood of what they most likely enjoy, and it
Mm-hmm.
satisfies their curiosity. So you understand, and by keeping you attracted online, you become kind of prisoner without knowing for these platforms.
Okay, cool. So George, you have experience like more than 36 years in this field, okay? And you have been into many countries. So, what would you suggest, or what would you think that which are those countries who have to work on this more as compared to others? Let's suppose, which countries do you think like they have a lack of knowledge and there's a lot to do in this field?
Okay, it varies a lot. You can say that there's what we call um, mature economies and there is emerging economies. And also, if we this is just from a generic financial perspective, so the capability
Mm-hmm.
to buy products and services, including electronic ones. The second one is more to do with the maturity in the usage of those technologies. So, for example, we can create a report on the maturity and usage of AI. And you quickly realize that from country to country, there's different levels of maturity. So you go to places like, for example, the US, let's say Israel, maybe UK, Germany, let's say France, would have Switzerland would have a high degree of maturity in the usage of these technologies. Even countries like, for example, China would have, but in their traditional languages. Now, other countries, like, for example, let's take something like, for example, Democratic Republic of Congo, which is a very large country in Africa. Their level of maturity in the usage of these technologies would be relatively low. And the reason of that is because it has to do with IT knowledge, IT awareness, IT education, education system. So the more
Mm-hmm.
mature the education system, the more modern is the telecommunication system, the usage of mobile phones, smart ones, etc. That means you raise the level of access to this technology. So if you look at other countries, like for example, the Middle East, the penetration of mobile technology is extremely high. So if you go to a place like, let's say, Kuwait or others, you'll have an average of something like almost two mobiles per individual in the country. So that means there is a high degree of awareness vis-a-vis mobile technology and computer technology. So that means that maturity translates into everything that gets done across the society. Now, of course, between the very advanced technologies today and the emerging technologies, and today you have a group known as the BRICS, which stands for uh, countries that align themselves into kind of emerging economies, which includes, for example, things like Brazil, India,
Mm-hmm.
China, etc. So these countries have gotten together and they say, okay, let's us create an alternative to make ourselves more mature. So you can say that today there is a big movement towards enable other economies to give themselves a chance to be mature. I'm in the big believer that today we should give access to this technology to as many people in as many countries as possible. We should lower
Yeah.
the barrier of entry. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
something like the iPhone costing $1,200, $1,500. This is not accessible to most people around the world. If, however,
Yeah.
you have a cheap handset that is also smartphone but costs only $50 or $100, and you reorganize how that phone works by using things like cloud mobile technology, you do it inside the data center, all of a sudden you can enable the capability of providing access to the same capabilities at maybe like $10, $20 per month. So all of a sudden you have a level playing field. So that means emerging countries and emerging technology countries have the capability to enable themselves to use these new AI, mobile application technologies, etc., and that allows them to increase their GDP in a much
Mm-hmm.
faster way. There's a study that was done on I spent 5 6 years at Huawei as CTO, was that if we give a mobile phone to a person that
Mm-hmm.
smartphone that today does not have one, or maybe has a very old mobile, um, and you give a phone that costs maybe $100, and you make that person pay that phone maybe $5 a month over the next two
Mm-hmm.
years, plus whatever subscription fees is associated with it, that person will actually double or triple their GDP as an individual. Why? Because that person will have the capability of educating themselves using YouTube, using TEDx.
Yeah. And
You
you are
understand?
giving the leverage to the people, like every
Yes.
individual.
Yes. So they'll
Okay,
be able
George,
to
we have some
communicate.
questions here
Yes, please go ahead.
from our audience. Okay, so there is an engineer, Mr. Engineer Zishan asked, how can AI technologies enhance cybersecurity measures?
That
Okay.
is
Okay,
very
we
important.
have like two questions are here. Let me read that and then you can give your brief answers. Another question is that what challenges may arise when implementing AI in security system?
Okay, the first one is that AI is both a risk and an enabler of security. So AI can be a risk because it allows us to create new malware. So people are using AI today to write code, and this code will not be able to be detected by existing antivirus. So in that sense, AI is creating zero-day attacks. So in that sense, is a bad usage of AI or a high risk. Another example of AI being used for bad purpose is using the technology known as deep fakes. Many of you have heard about this. It's technology where it can imitate somebody saying something on audio or video. Now, if you're using audio to do passwords for banking systems, then you can impersonate somebody else's voice so you can get into their bank accounts. If you are on video, you can have that person say something they didn't ever say on YouTube or other social media channels. So it creates a big risk, especially if that person maybe is a president of a country or somebody highly influential. So this is on the high risk side. On the,
It's a
on
very
the
dangerous thing, actually. I have seen in
That is correct.
one actually movie about the deep fake.
Correct. So the second side is that AI can also be used to enhance security. So one example is AI can actually be used to detect these deep fakes. So the same technology that is being used to create can also be used to detect. AI can also be used as a technology to do education in awareness that customizes the awareness based on the user. AI can also be used to provide like a coach to say, shall I
Mhm.
be do that? Shall I not do that? Meaning, like, shall I click on this attachment on this email? AI can also be used, for example, in a command and control center, what we call sometimes a security operation center. In a SOC or
Mhm.
security operation center, you have lots of messages coming from many sources, and it's very
Right.
difficult to correlate this information to see is it a bad request or a risky request and how to stop it. AI can process that information more accurately, and AI can
Mm-hmm.
be used to create the proper incident response to that attack. So that
Mm-hmm.
means AI enables us as a co pilot to be much more agile in the response systems that we create in cybersecurity. So in that sense, I believe that AI is a plus. So AI becomes a co-pilot, AI becomes a robot that enhances the functions that today are
Mm-hmm.
being performed by individuals who perform cybersecurity.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Amara. So,
Yeah. So, and the another side is that what challenges arise when implementing AI in security system. So,
so one
I
of
would
the
ask.
challenges
Mhm.
that applies when you're implementing AI is how you train the models. So, because the models that are used to train
Mm-hmm.
um, need to be based on good density of data and good quality of data. So if the data that it was used to train these models is not of good quality or not enough diversity, then the AI system does not perform very well.
Mm-hmm.
And if the AI was actually trained with sometimes what we call fake data, not fake data, but you can say AI generated data itself, then you have this concept in AI that's called hallucinations, which means one day AI system thinks that it's behaving correctly, but is actually behaving incorrectly because the information they're relaying to the users is actually incorrect because it's not based on any facts.
Mm-hmm.
This is the big risk. So these are some of the challenges that are primarily associated with implementing AI in modern cybersecurity systems.
Okay. So you want to say that people who are not aware of it. So our first or initiative or our first step should be to aware them actually.
That is correct. Create awareness
Perfect.
by providing
Okay,
education.
George. Okay, perfect. Okay, George. So anything from your side, or should we
Well,
conclude this session?
I can
Would you like
create
to say anything related to your
final
topic?
statement. Yeah, my final statement would be I think we're still in the baby steps of AI. AI is still young. A lot of the progress in AI is going to take place over the next 1, 2, 3 years. So we need to give a chance for AI to become even more
Mm-hmm.
mature and to provide even more enhanced solutions because it will be able to deal with much more data dimensions and volumes of data that it does today. So I think that the future looks very
Mm-hmm.
promising, but we as individuals have the responsibility to manage that transition to make sure that AI is a service to us, not a problem to us. So, Amara, it's a pleasure to be here. So, it was a great session to spend this quality time together. And I looking forward to also do future ones as well.
I think there is some connectivity problem. Let's see what's happening. Thank you, Kanice. I'm trying to get back the George in the studio. I think he has some connectivity issues. Let's see. Okay, thank you so much, Kaniz, that you are hearing me. I'm trying to get him back actually, and there are some connectivity issue from his side. So I'm trying to get him back again. Thank you so much. We were about to conclude our conversation, and coincidentally, this connection error appears actually. Okay, thank you everyone for watching this live podcast, and welcome to Pro AI Think Tank podcast. And हमने ये series start कर दी है, and we will move forward with so many episodes, and we will take all the AI experts on board for these podcasts. So stay tuned and take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.